Hello, beautiful soul family. Rebecca here, your vibe mentor. And this continues to be the place for aspiring, purpose driven entrepreneurs who are looking to remove the blocks that hold you back from your purpose so that you can manifest abundance and assist in creating heaven on earth. I am excited to be back with you a little bit sooner than we have been the last couple of weeks. I've missed you guys. And as I say all the time, I do love being here with you, and I do truly love you. So I'm really excited to share with you today some insights around the inner critic and that fear of not being enough. So this is designed to help you understand, where does that inner critic come from? How do we get rid of it? And how do we return back to not just a reclamation of our wholeness, but a knowing, an embodiment of our wholeness. And as you know, I have been through a wild ride over the last couple of weeks. There was a car accident. And then, of course, that happened right before spring break when I was supposed to take my kids to Florida. And so I rented a car and jumped back on the horse. And we are finally back home and getting back into the swing of things. And this topic is very top of mind for me. And it's very fascinating. If you follow this channel, you know that we address this inner critic or overgiving or people pleasing or perfectionism. They all seem to come from this wounded place of feeling not enough. And it can come from, the big T or the little t of trauma, or it could just be conditioning and programming of the world today. But one of the few things, there's a couple of very consistent patterns that rise to the top in my clients. And one is overgiving, two is the inner critic, and three is perfectionism or people pleasing. And sometimes they're different, sometimes they're the same. So I really want to take the time over the next few videos to address the specifics and get really detailed around the patterns that show up. And I have said before that I think the vast majority of the world is dealing with some form of complex trauma. And now that may seem extreme to state it that way. So I'd like to revise that. It may not be that we have necessarily experienced complex trauma, but globally, collectively, we are demonstrating the symptoms of complex trauma. So that hypervigilance, working too hard, constant people pleasing or perfectionism, always trying to live up to an impossible standard. These are all hallmarks of the healing work that I do or provide for my clients who often come to me with complex trauma. So it's interesting how the specifics of the language can really get us tied up, and it's the semantics. We need to recognize that life is always happening for us and not to us, and that there's no such thing as a coincidence or an accident. So if you happen to be here, don't let any of those words get you caught up, and don't let it close the door so that you're not open to receive the remainder of what is being offered to you here. Because like I said, you are here for a reason. So let's dive in. What does it look like? This inner critic. I call mine the little trauma demon that sits on my shoulder. You can call yours Bob. It doesn't really matter. But we all have that negative voice that wants to tell us there's something wrong with you. You're not doing it right. You're not going to succeed if you try to do that crazy thing. It's some sort of negative thought pattern. You could even call it neuro pathways or dendrites in the brain. It is the repetition of the limits that we put on ourselves, the limiting beliefs, that negative talk, that incessant inner critic. Maybe it's fear of rejection or fear of doing something wrong, or maybe it is overgiving or people pleasing or perfectionism that you struggle with. It may have a specific flavor for you, but we all have some version of it, some flavor of that inner critic or that negative self-talk. And when we struggle with this, that voice can be louder for some than others. And I will also throw this in, that as a aspiring purpose-driven entrepreneur, it is also part of the package to have a strong inner critic. For those of us who feel very driven to make a difference in the world, to prevent other people from feeling the pain that I felt, when that is your why, when you feel so strongly about making the world a different place, a better place, You feel strongly about producing a high quality product. You feel strongly about having a significant positive impact on the world, then you're going to have a strong inner critic. It may be from a big T or a little t. It might just be conditioning and programming. It might be your personality. It might be your astrology chart. It really doesn't matter what label or cause you put to it. The beautiful thing is the reason you resonate with does not keep you from experiencing the healing and the freedom and the resolve from one consistent healing modality. And I'll get into that in a minute. The solution is the same regardless of your flavor, is what I'm trying to say here. So when you are struggling with that strong inner critic, it can manifest its impact in different ways that we don't quite realize. Overgiving seems like a very virtuous trait. People pleasing seems like a very kind thing to do. Perfectionism can seem like trying to achieve our highest potential. These manifestations or symptoms of the underlying cause can seem acceptable, socially acceptable. They can seem like virtuous traits. But if you notice, as I walk through this list of sort of the symptoms of the strong inner critic, the toxic inner critic, the trauma demon, the voice of constant barrage, you'll recognize it isn't healthy. And then it will start to open the door to the question of why do we do this and what is the underlying root cause, which when we finally locate the roots of the weed, then we can truly heal and move forward. So when we're struggling with a strong inner critic, it can feel like we're walking on eggshells. It can feel like we're delicately trying to hold everything together, trying to keep everything under control. It even verges on controlling. We are hypervigilant. Often you'll feel the tension in your body, the shoulders will clench, the fists will clench. I even, for many, many years before starting my healing journey, I would sleep in the fetal position to the point I was so tight it hurt my body. We go through life feeling like we're carrying the weight of the world. And of course, that will lead to exhaustion and battle fatigue. We'll feel defeated because it's impossible to be perfect, to please everyone, to keep everyone happy. It's impossible to live this life. And so we'll feel defeated. We'll feel like life is futile. We'll even question, is it worth living? Because all of the joy of life is sucked out of us by that voice that tells us it's never good enough. We will often even wear a mask because we are feeling vulnerable and we're desperately afraid of failing or being bad or wrong or even having these feelings. And so we'll wear a mask, which will cause us to lose sight of who we are and what we need, which will prevent us from nurturing ourselves and taking care of ourselves. And we start to just crumble under the weight and the pressure. We start to play small and shrink back because there's a part of us that recognizes it is futile. And so then all of our energy goes to managing the crappy feeling created by this, managing the toxic inner critic, managing our triggers and our fears. There's no room left. There's no energy left. And it's completely impossible for us to blossom into who we were made to be. We start to lack fulfillment. And then, of course, you have to compensate. You have to cope somehow. So then you'll seek nourishment through unhealthy modalities. Maybe it's addiction or just distraction, checking out. The crazy thing is, this toxic inner critic is constantly criticizing us. And we're, especially if you relate to or identify as someone who is a perfectionist, it's as if we're constantly trying to perfect ourselves and fix ourselves. We're chasing a goal that will be impossible to achieve because of the inner critic. It's just like overgiving. We're depositing in a bank account, waiting for the return, but we will never be able to withdraw from that bank account. It's lost effort, lost energy. So what causes it? It's low self-esteem, low self-worth, conditioning, programming, trauma, big T, little t, doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, we have prioritized the wrong things. Somewhere along the way, someone told you what good looks like, and you agreed to their definition. We agreed that success looks like fancy cars and big houses. We agreed that beautiful looks like thin or skinny or tall or short or hips or butt or no hips or no butt or big shoulders and big muscles or brown hair and blue eyes. Doesn't matter. Somebody somewhere along the way told you that's what beautiful looks like. That's what good looks like. And we subconsciously signed a contract, signed an agreement to be on board with that. And so then we go look in the mirror and we say, but I'm not that. I can't tan for the life of me. There will always be something wrong with me because by definition, that tan skin means that's the definition of beautiful. And I will always fall short of that. So the solution is changing the priorities, changing the definition, changing how you see yourself, changing how you measure yourself. Because that inner critic, the trauma that said there's something wrong with you, is lying to you. And you are the creator of your reality. You get to define the rules. You get to rewrite what good looks like and say no more. I am beautiful and perfect, perfectly imperfect for my purpose. We get to rewrite the rules. So ask yourself, what do you desire? Right? So now we've kind of talked about where we're at and how did we get here? We know we don't like it. We don't want to be there anymore. Where do you want to be? Look at what is good instead of what is not. Keep your focus where you want to go. It's just like driving a car. If I'm looking over here, I'm driving over here. I need to stay focused on where we're going. So we likely desire a quiet mind, a peaceful mind. We want to silence that inner critic. We want to feel safe in our own skin. We want to feel more than enough, not just enough, but awesome, amazing, valuable, a prized possession. That's unshakable confidence. We want to have those neural pathways, those thought habits that constantly take us to gratitude, awe, and appreciation for ourselves. We talk a lot in the spiritual community about gratitude and about appreciation and about focus on positive, but we don't talk enough about having it for ourselves. It's as within, so without. It starts inside. We want to be to a place where we're comfortable asking for what we want because we know we deserve it. How many times have somebody asked you what you wanted and you couldn't answer? I don't know, whatever you want, anything's fine with me. Or when you do learn that you need to, then you start to try to ask, but you still quiver in your voice. You still shake or stumble over your words. It's coming from a place of lack of confidence, lack of self-worth. Your self-concept is what you manifest from. So we want to get strong in our ask, strong in our voice, strong in our knowing of who we are. Again, one of the most critical components to manifestation is the knowing, is the solid confidence, the certainty in who I am and what I deserve, right? Ask for what you need. I tell my kids, if you ask them, I bet you anything, what's the number one thing mom pushes for, reminds you of, tells you to do? It's ask for what you need, right? We don't go to whining. We don't immediately throw a fit. We gently and kindly ask for what you need. You can't get what you don't ask for, right? So I need to start asking. We need to start asking. I say I because I don't like to say you, but I, at a certain point, had to start asking. Please speak to me respectfully. Please treat me properly, right? It's not too much to ask. That's not a tall order, right? But know that when we start to ask for what we need, we are also helping others. That as a doormat, as an overgiver, as a people pleaser, as someone who allows the inner critic to silence my light, my voice, my soul, I have done a disservice, not only to all of the people I'm intended to be here to help, but also to that person that I allowed, that I enabled. We have a responsibility not only to ourselves, but to the collective whole, to our children, to our children's children, to our mothers, to our fathers, to our brothers, to our sisters, to anyone you love. Every time you play small and you allow that inner critic to win, they lose just as much as you do. So we want to embody, right? We want to embody, we want to show up powerfully, we want to be confident, we want to grow the good parts of us by having that focus on the good parts of us. And then finally allows us to embody that, knowing that I'm valuable, I am a treasure, I am precious, and it is a privilege and an honor to be in my energy. My work is high value, and I deserve massive compensation, to borrow Amanda Francis's language. If you check her out, watch out, make sure the kids are not listening. Lots of F words thrown around there. I love you, Amanda, if you ever watch this. Anyhow, so what do we do, right? How do we do it? Like, what's the steps? Let's walk through this real quick, because I'm supposed to be picking up my daughter in a couple of minutes. So I'm going to go quick here, but it starts with identifying the root cause of the conditioning, the programming, the trauma, whatever your flavor is. That's where you've got to start. And that's where it gets a little tricky, because I can't just tell you in this video. I need to know your story. I need to hear kind of where did the emotion resonate and rest in your body for you. Somatic healing therapies are required once you've identified the root cause. I absolutely will speak high volumes of brain spotting, although that is what saved my life. And yet when I got certified and started doing this for my clients, I now call it trauma spotting through source tapping, because there is an energy healing component to it. And it is so powerful. I literally could talk about it all day, but like I said, we could talk about it all day, and it doesn't even move the needle until we start to get into the body and remove the trauma from the limbic brain. So healing the wound of unworthiness is how we finally silence the inner critic, reclaim our wholeness, and stop all of those symptoms like overgiving, people pleasing, perfectionism, all of that. So when we finally do that, then we can stop playing small and create a fulfilling life. You desire that purpose-driven, fulfilling, abundant life, but we can't get there from here because of the self-worth issue, the unworthiness issue, right? So I know, because I literally tried everything. I can't even name them all. I spent 10 years testing out every spiritual modality, every psychology modality. They moved the needle marginally, but it wasn't until I started to work somatically and started to see the evidence of trauma spotting through source tapping in my clients that I know this works. And I will say, I have to start to preface this now, because I had 2 clients who just weren't able to do the work. But if you do the work, if you show up and you're willing to dive headlong into the crap, you will be successful. This works for every single person who I have worked with who has been willing to show up and continue to do the work, right? I call it the test method. It's so much easier than the 4 words. So we're just going to call it the test method going forward. Just know that if you've tried everything also, it's not your fault, right? It's not your fault that you haven't been able to figure this out, because nobody taught us how to process emotion or how to heal with the body. This is something that should be taught in schools, and God bless it, it will before I die. I'm going to make this happen. But for now, you have me. But why now? Now is the time. Now is the time. If you haven't noticed, the world's kind of crumbling, which is not a bad thing. It's all of the, crap that's been hidden in the closet is just being pulled out so that we can build back better. Although I don't love that term at all. I don't use the word hate, but that might be a place where I kind of would want to. This is the great reset. This is a great awakening. This is the build back better. It doesn't really matter what they call it, because we are fully in control as sovereign beings. We will build back better if you are ready and willing to do what it takes to remove these blocks, silence the inner critic, and start to step into your purpose. That's how we make our dreams come true. Your dreams are put on your heart for a reason by the divine, because it's what's supposed to draw you towards your purpose and what you were made for. You are not here by accident. You are here with intention. Right. So it is a time of great reset, which is a perfect time for us to reset our lives. Why not now? Right. And how much time has been wasted? How much energy has been wasted? How much money has been left on the table? How much more can you tolerate? I know for me, I hit a breaking point, and sometimes that's what it takes. So the vibe healing process, the test method works. I can promise you. Like I said, I have hundreds of testimonials, people who have told me it's been life-changing. Even today, yet another client, after a year of working together, came to me and said, or we agreed, she has reached the destination. She is now living her purpose and manifesting abundance through it. So if you're finally ready to do this, come with me, come join me for a masterclass that I am doing specifically on this topic: how to understand the root cause of your issue that keeps you from feeling worthy, that keeps you from that self-concept that is necessary to live the fulfilling life, to realize your dreams, to become whole and complete, to be the person that God made you to be, and to finally manifest your dreams, assisting us in creating heaven on earth. So I'd love to see you there. Link below. We will have the masterclass live. I will be teaching for at least an hour, probably, hopefully no more than 90 minutes. I don't think I'll go over that. But I really want to give you the details of what this is going to take. How do we drill down into removing this inner critic, stopping the overgiving, stopping the people pleasing, stopping the perfectionism, realizing most importantly that we are whole and complete and already enough. You don't have to fix yourself. You are already perfect. It's just a matter of removing the veil that causes you to see yourself as something other than whole, complete, and perfectly imperfect for your purpose. All right, gotta run. I love you guys. I will see you soon. Like, subscribe, and share if you know anybody that can benefit from this. Otherwise, I really hope to see you in the masterclass, April 14th, 10 a.m. Central Time. We'll be live in Zoom. If you don't want to show up, don't show up. You can watch the replay. Otherwise, you could just come and turn your camera off. You don't have to be seen. So I love you guys. Namaste.